Good evening, distinguished faculty, staff, President Weinman, friends, family, and of course, my fellow graduates. It is an honor to be standing up here before you today, and to the graduating class, we did it. We have made it through our respective programs through the combination of our hard work, maybe a few or more than a few tears, and the support of our peers, our professors, and our mentors in our fields. And we have each come to Marist from different walks of life. And after we cross this stage, handed our diplomas, we will continue on our own unique paths, diverging and possibly re-intertwining with one another throughout our careers. And we have been brought together for this brief moment in time to recognize our achievements and perhaps to reflect on what Marist saw in us as individuals and hoped to cultivate further when they welcomed us just a few years ago. The college has identified that it would like to help students develop ourselves as individuals and as professionals who are able to live enlightened, ethical, and productive lives in the global community of the 21st century. Now, that looks different for those of us who are future teachers in the audience compared to those who will be walking out of here with an MBA or a Master of Professional Accountancy. But we are all the people who Marist took a chance on and said, you, who are you becoming, and what is it that you are bringing to this changing world of ours? I am graduating with my Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling, or in other words, someone who is professionally versed in reminding people at parties that just because I am a therapist does not mean that I am their therapist. So, as I was preparing to give this speech tonight, I could not help but to think through the lens of mental health. And I hope the audience will forgive me for taking a brief foray from the celebratory into the serious. I am going to take a moment to talk very generally about suicide, with the hope that you will understand why in a minute. And if you or anyone you know are struggling with thoughts of suicide, you are not alone, and you can call a crisis or suicide lifeline 24/7 at 988. Over the past year in my grad program, I have had the honor of working with clients at a substance abuse treatment center and at a college counseling center. I have gotten to celebrate their wins, anything from a new relationship to sober milestones to finishing their senior project. Whew. I have gotten to explore and dive deep into their past and their present, and to sit with them in some deep, challenging emotions. One particularly tough day comes to mind. I had met with a client who, just days before, had made a plan and gathered what they would need to end their own life. Thankfully, they made their way to the counseling office and accepted support, and they are still with us. A colleague of mine whose compassion and sheer humanity I deeply admire was working with me on the case. And they reflected to me, there is so much pressure put on us as therapists to keep people alive, but nobody asks, what is going on in the systems that get people to the point where they are thinking about ending their own lives? Now, I do not think that no one asks, what about these systems that got us here? Although my peers and I in the mental health counseling program are about to enter a profession where the role of a helper is more explicit, I can guarantee that each and every one of us knows multiple people who have struggled with their mental health and may have had to grapple with that question, what got us here? And while the human psyche is still in part a mystery to us all, the reasons that people find themselves struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal ideation do not elude those of us in the mental health field entirely. The philosopher Krishnamurti once wrote, "The unhealthy must be made healthy, that goes without saying. But why should the individual adjust himself to an unhealthy society?" This client of mine, who had reached a moment of walking up to the precipice of ending their life, is a smart, caring, incredibly artistic and talented young person who makes the people around them feel very seen. And the systemic challenges that got them to this point where they were struggling are ones that are deeply ingrained in our society. While the specific circumstances of this client's life are not mine to share, it is really important for me to share with this audience that they truly could have been anyone. They could have been a trans student who was faced with the prospect of returning home over the summer to a state that has effectively outlawed their ability to access life-saving, gender-affirming care, or simply to access public restrooms. They could have been a refugee denied asylum and faced with the prospect of returning to a country where they can't guarantee that they will even have enough to eat. They could have been a Black client who has been struggling with chronic pain for years and trying to get a medical establishment that consistently underestimates the pain of Black and brown patients to actually take them seriously. If these descriptions of possible clients do not happen to reflect your own story, I can guarantee you that they are our future students, our future clients, our future colleagues. Now, there are some popular conceptions of self-care that I see associated with mental health. You'll see them on TikTok, Instagram. Eat healthy, exercise, learn to say no when you have too much on your plate, take a bubble bath, take a vacation. These are all great and they're a part of the equation, but they are individualistic. Wellness, that thing that my own field of counseling strives for, is not something that we build on our own. We are strongest when we are able to look after one another, especially the most vulnerable among us. And I would like to ask everyone, whether you are a graduating student or somebody else in the audience, to just take a moment to pause and reflect before I continue. What is your role in contributing to the wellness of the community around you? This could look different and will look different for everyone. Access to medical care is suicide prevention. Respecting someone's pronouns is suicide prevention. Having access to public education that teaches the true history of your people and their contributions to the world is suicide prevention. Having colleagues in the workplace who see you as a full human being and not just a cog in the machinations of production, that's suicide prevention. This touches our lives at home, at work, at school. And now Marist has made a name for itself here in the Hudson Valley, and our alumni are spreading that influence farther than just this little river valley. I believe that many of us will go on to deeply impact people in the communities around us. As a matter of fact, I have been on the receiving end of that. In the heaviest period of my own life, I walked through the doors of a counselor who was herself a Marist graduate. I sat on her couch. I thought to myself, this couch could use a few more pillows, but it's comfy. And I was met with compassion, acceptance, and the space to build myself up into someone who would be able to be a steady, safe presence in the lives of others. Here is what I know. Regardless of where we end up, we will be representatives of Marist in our respective professions. Our diplomas aren't just really expensive pieces of paper that we hang up on the walls of our offices to add a little bit of ambiance. I hope that my fellow graduates will join me in working to embody the values that Marist espouses, to be ethical professionals who will strive to make the world a better, more humane place. We will never be perfectly versed in everything, but we will always have the power and the choice to care. Annalise Singh, a counseling psychologist who practices liberation psychology, said, "We need to dismantle the parts of our hearts that have been taught to be numb to the pain of people on the margins of our profession, so that we can step into a lineage of true and deep healing." Our everyday humanity, our willingness to put in that extra ounce of effort to see the person in front of us, that is a beautiful resistance and liberation that we can all access. So here, as we are about to graduate, I hope that we can celebrate the twisting and complicated paths that got us to this point. And I hope that we can become Marist alumni who embrace a sense of community in such a way that we infuse humanity into the professions that we are about to walk into. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2023.